I will tell you right now, I do not recognize our president. I think that we are an occupied nation. I think that a foreign country has occupied our government. And we are seeing now that this president of the United States of America is being influenced by a foreign government. And MAGA, let me tell you right now, MAGA is dead. It is deader than dead, and Americans are furious. We do not recognize President Donald J. Trump anymore.
Hello, brothers and sisters. Hope you are fine. So, America, let's not blame black community for the problems you are facing today. Don't blame the black Americans for the poor leadership you are getting today. Don't blame them for the rise of prices of gas. You were warned about this, but you never listened. Let's have a look at these videos and I'll be back with more comments at the end of it.
Interesting shift taking place as Trump rapidly ramps up his authoritarianism, and that is white people flipping the switch from capitulation to resistance. Let me explain what I mean. Since the end of World War II, the white community in America has enjoyed unprecedented wealth and opportunity as a result of a globalized American empire. And because of that, we have been less likely to buck against the system even when we know that system is unjust, because the system has rewarded us so well. That's called capitulation. And these are broad brushstrokes here. I'm speaking very generally. The black community, on the other hand, because they have always been a target of the system, from slavery to Jim Crow to the war on drugs, they have always maintained a posture of resistance. And again, there are plenty of exceptions on both sides here. But what's interesting to see now is more and more white people, first of all, waking up, and secondly, taking risks to resist the Trump regime, taking to the streets in protest, directly confronting ICE officers, resigning positions of authority, and in our case, making a documentary that could cause us to get our tails sewed off, or worse. But it's worth it, these acts of resistance. Jesus said it like this: what does it profit a man to gain the whole world, yet lose his soul? Because we cannot be people any longer who go along with wicked systems just because they benefit us.
And so, where the American people are tired of this administration already. They are tired of endless wars, tired of increased costs, tired of chaos, tired of the corruption. It's the most corrupt administration we've ever seen in America. And the MAGA Republicans know it. They know it. And so they're so unpopular that the only way they can win in November is kick millions of people they don't like.
Hey, it's Joe from Georgia. New polling coming out today, and it's really interesting because it polled people who were making $50,000 or less. Now, this was a group of swing voters that pushed the president over the top to win this past year. He won that group. Well, folks, now in the new polling of those people who make less than $50,000 a year, Donald Trump is underwater by 24 points. So they have abandoned him in huge numbers. Now, folks, and why are these people making less than $50,000 a year leaving the president? It's because they're paying more for everything. And for all the money that they do have, they try to spend it wisely because they know they have to live on what they make. So the more groceries cost, the more gas cost, the more anything across the board, rent, furniture, anything. Those people making $50,000 a year or less are the ones who bear the biggest brunt because of the percentage of their income. So, folks, the people under $50,000 a year, they're dumping the president.
Trump represents white safety. He makes white people feel like he's going to protect them from all the others. Unfortunately, true. I naively thought there was no way in hell he was ever going to make it back into office again. I thought that we had largely turned a corner in this country where it was not that bad. But what I learned here is that we should never underestimate the power of fear. Because that is exactly how the right, especially Trump, motivates people, through fear. And sadly, it's been that way as long as I can remember. I used to live in East Texas, and I had this fishing buddy that I used to go out to his place, and we would fish and just shoot the shit about anything. One day, out of nowhere, he told me this story about this cabin that his family owns that they are all going to retreat to one day whenever the black people take over and try and enslave the white people. Because that's what his family taught him over time, that black people were eventually going to outbreed us, and then they were going to want to get some payback. And I started laughing at this, thinking he's just fucking with me. But then his face turned bright red, and he's like, I'm being serious. He said, you might think it's funny now, but you won't think it's so funny whenever they've got you working the fields. Which only got me laughing harder, and it made him even madder. Keep in mind, this is supposed to be a fishing trip where we're supposed to be quiet and just fishing and relaxing. But he was so mad. He had this whole story built up in his head, and he's been worried about it for a long time. And I thought surely people like this could not be the norm in this country. But if you have somebody who is running for office who is feeding into that fear that you already have, that makes it all the more powerful. He tells them things like, transgender illegals are streaming across our open borders, trying to break into our homes and take them over and jiggle their genitals in our faces. And the majority of the people that voted for him were uneducated people that were about this tone. So they hear all this nonsense and they're like, well, that's gotta be true, because why else would he say it? He's just saying what I always thought would happen. And that fear turns into anger, that anger turns into hate, and then all of a sudden they're out voting because they're so full of hatred. But they'll tell you it's not hatred. They'll say that they're voting out of love, but not a love of all people, just the people that they think that this country is their birthright. So when Trump comes along and says, I alone can fix this, they're like, oh shit. They definitely got to vote for the only guy who can fix this, because this absolutely needs to be fixed. This problem that only exists in their minds. And the only way to fix this is education, but they even think that that's toxic, because the right has taught them that education is indoctrination. So they don't want to get too educated, because that might turn them into a liberal, which will make them want to give the country away to people who don't look like them. I don't know, man. I think the only thing that can save us now is if we have another pandemic come through that they don't trust and they just do the opposite of, and it just wipes them out. I just can't see reversing 40 to 50 years of dumbing down in this country. These people are completely brainwashed. But maybe I'm wrong. I really hope that I am.
Oh boy, the saga of the white farmers continues. So you know, your white farmers been complaining that Trump messed off the soybean money. Now, you know, they lost $12 billion worth of product because Trump started messing with China, putting tariffs on them. Well, it's about to get even better. So your boy Trump wants to start flooding the American market with beef from Argentina. And oh boy, the white farmers are mad, y'all. They are mad. Let's go ahead and check this out.
Everybody's wound up today because Trump says we're going to import all this beef from Argentina. We're going to lower our beef prices because the beef's too expensive here. And I thought I'd throw my 2 cents in. First of all, it's not really a new thing to import beef. We've imported beef in this country for a long time. What is new, however, is the government getting involved because of the prices and saying the beef prices are too high. We're going to make a deal. We're going to buy a bunch of beef from Argentina, and we're going to undercut the American farmers and ranchers who are finally making some decent money. And that's just, it's a socialist mindset, if you ask me. That's not what I've grown up thinking as an American market, you know, supply and demand. Where did that?
Well, gentlemen, let me chime in on this. For the consumer, they welcome that because they want lower beef prices. The beef price is through the roof. See, here's the thing, American farmers, white American farmers in particular, y'all been doing it and the prices are through the roof. Well, Trump say, well, you know what? I'm going to get a bunch of beef from Argentina, put it on the American market, and that's going to lower the prices. Why would it lower the prices? Early in the video, you mentioned supply and demand. See, prices are up when you have more of a demand than a supply. So if you increase the supply and you don't have enough demand, then the price is going to have to drop. So if the Argentina beef come in here and it's cheaper, people going to buy that beef. That's just the way it is. And that means if y'all want to stay in business, you're going to drop your prices. So Trump messed off y'all soybean money. Now he about to mess off y'all money on the beef. It looks like to me, Trump not for y'all like that. You say, what happened to America first? Trump don't believe in no America first. Trump told y'all that he believes in America first. The only thing that he gave y'all was mass deportation. And the only reason he wants to do that because he wants to lower the numbers of the Hispanics for the most part, because the Africans aren't here, or Caribbeans aren't here in mass numbers, but a lot of Hispanics are. So if he feel like he can get a lot of Hispanics out this country and maybe hold off on the white minority part, okay, he gonna try to do his part to do that. But Trump is not America first. He is Trump first. That's first and foremost. Trump was worrying about getting money for himself and his family. He's not thinking about y'all. Listen, Trump don't have to worry about y'all because y'all not gonna vote for him no more. He's gone. This is his last term. That's why he don't care about much of nothing with any of you. He don't care if you don't get mad. It's the second term. Now Trump not even worried about the Republican Party. They say, well, maybe you need to move a certain way so it can help the other Republicans. You don't care about.
Do the white people complaining about how evil Donald Trump is for what he just did in Venezuela realize that the No Kings protest and everything that you feared Donald Trump would become is exactly what Maduro was? Does that comprehend? Does that calculate in your mind? Because if not, please leave. Please go to Venezuela, because you're bringing the average IQ down in this country.
You know why politics feels so exhausting these days? Why it feels like you're getting whiplash every 24 to 48 hours? It's because the Trump presidency years, honestly, are probably arguably the first time when you were told to focus on literally every single thing he does on social media, online, in real life, with zero breaks whatsoever. Now, you might say maybe that was starting to begin and be a thing in the Obama years, but back then the mainstream media was not as invested in sowing complete and total division as they are today. In the Biden years, we know that Biden got a pass by the mainstream media, a different topic for a different day. But the fact of the matter is, on the right side of the aisle, many individuals, myself included, have said repeatedly, when there are things Trump does we disagree with, we will call him out on it, we will condemn it, and we will move forward, but not throw the baby out with the bathwater. On the left side of the aisle, they don't operate that way. They literally say vote blue no matter who, and they mean it. So there is zero pretext of objectivity in that case. But the fact of the matter is, now 24/7, you are told, wake up in the morning, refresh social media, figure out what the new topic or the new outrage deal is, tell individuals why you love it and why you hate it, and if you love it, there will be consequences. If you hate it, there will be consequences. Some on your side will attack you, some will defend you. It just feels completely chaotic 24/7, and that's because no one was ever intended to live life this way. You do not have to have an instant rapid reaction to every single thing that happens on social media. That's not the way life should be. And if you feel yourself starting to succumb to this, it is your duty to step away from it and realize that it is okay to not have an instant public reaction to everything. And the more we normalize that kind of behavior and that kind of outlook, the better. So those are my thoughts. I'm curious what yours might be.
As we all know, based on polling data that is currently available, Donald Trump has done a lot of damage, not just to his brand of MAGA, but also to the Republican Party and the conservative movement in general. But what's happening here in the United States with public backlash against conservatives is nothing compared to what's happening around the globe. According to a new report from The Economist, apparently Donald Trump's brand of populist conservatism has proven to be so toxic here in the United States that it's actually hurting the political chances of conservatives around the planet. Because people in those other countries are looking at American conservatives and saying, you know what? I actually don't want that to happen in my country. So let me read you this. As The Economist reports, Trump has had few clear wins and many chaotic policy turns. Much energy has been devoted to targeting domestic political enemies for grievances that do not resonate outside America. Any benefit Mr. Trump might have given right-wing parties is being overshadowed by an expansionist and aggressive political nationalism. America First is activating political defensiveness in other countries. Views of America have turned sharply negative across polls in several Western countries. The Trump effect is seen most keenly in countries where the American president has picked fights. MAGA's international allies, who describe themselves as national conservatives, had expected Mr. Trump's victory to make radical right-wing politics more credible with voters elsewhere. But a populist Trump bump has failed to materialize, despite efforts by many of Mr. Trump's lieutenants to make his administration and the wider MAGA movement an inspiration to and example for right-wing populists around the world. The net effect of Trump's presidency, they say, has been to boost mainstream incumbents at the expense of populist outsiders. So in country after country, these right-wing politicians who, of course, openly, vocally support Donald Trump, they're losing, right? Like, I'm going to challenge the powers that be. I'm going to be the Donald Trump of France. I'm going to be the Donald Trump of Canada. I'm going to be the Donald Trump of Germany or the UK. And the voters like, yeah, we hate that. It's almost ironic that Donald Trump's attacks this week on Rob Reiner might be the straw that broke the camel's back. Rob Reiner, a guy, of course, who was very outspoken about Donald Trump, wanted nothing more than for Donald Trump to go down in flames and be removed from office and lose all his support. And the irony, of course, is that in death, Rob Reiner may actually get what he was hoping for because of Trump's response to what happened this past weekend. Now, the reason I say that is because the backlash that Donald Trump is facing has not gone away. You know, his little address Wednesday night, a lot of folks think that it was to make up for his horrible speech last week in Pennsylvania. That's not what it was. His speech on Wednesday was actually an attempt to make people forget about the Rob Reiner comments. But it's not working. The voters are angry, the conservative influencers and mouthpieces and, pundits are angry, and most importantly, Republicans in Congress are not happy about it. In fact, they're not happy about any of Donald Trump's outbursts. Because it wasn't just the Rob Reiner thing this week that pissed them off. It was also that Vanity Fair article that, of course, sucked up all the oxygen in the media. So for those who are not familiar, obviously, Susie Wiles, Donald Trump's chief of staff, came out in that Vanity Fair interview and said that Trump has an alcoholic's personality. You know, in that he's up, he's down, he's this way, he's that way. Nobody knows what's going to happen. You got to walk on eggshells with the guy because you don't want him to fly off the handle. And Republicans in the House and Senate told media outlets this week they're sick of it. They're not sick of it because they hate the behavior. They're sick of it because they hate the distraction. And, of course, because, believe it or not, they actually need Trump to be able to do things, to work with them so that they can do things before the midterms so they don't all lose their seats. Here's what Senator John Kennedy told Semaphore. There's only so much any human being can handle at one time. And when the president says some of the stuff that he says, it's time-consuming, and it distracts from his work and his agenda, and it distracts from our work. We need his input right now on a lot of things. An unnamed House Republican staffer said this. The president could stop it tomorrow. Everyone is begging him to, but he won't. They're sick of it. And again, the Rob Reiner post on Truth Social somehow became the straw that broke the camel's back for a lot of these Republicans. This was the turning point. That's when the switch finally flipped in their brains and they were like, hold up. All right, this is not okay. I mean, when Donald Trump loses all of these conservative mouthpieces out there, the horrible...
It's always crazy to me when I see, like, straight white guys between the ages of 18 and 29, like myself, supporting Donald Trump because, like, do you guys not realize how bad a Trump victory would be for you? Does that not click? Like, if you have a woman in your life, a girlfriend, a mother, a sister, Donald Trump is running on taking their reproductive rights away. Republicans in the Senate just voted against a bill that would protect their access to contraception the other day. What? Or maybe you work in a factory and you think that Donald Trump's going to protect your job. Sorry, no. Donald Trump outsourced more jobs than Obama, and right now there's a manufacturing boom because of President Biden. Don't believe me? Look it up for yourself. Or maybe you're just like, yeah, I hate the inflation and the gas prices, so I like Trump. Well, I hate to break it to you, because contrary to what Donald Trump tells you, Joe Biden is not responsible for the inflation or the high gas prices. That happened all around the world as a result of the pandemic. And actually, right now, we're drilling more oil than ever before, and inflation has fallen rapidly. And many economists are saying that Donald Trump's policies are far more inflationary and could make the situation worse. Point is, there's nothing manly or cool about voting for Donald Trump. What's actually honorable is standing up for people whose voices may not be as loud as yours. Food for thought.
Judges across the country are overwhelmed with lawsuits being filed against the Trump administration. And in fact, as of right now, we have had 225 different judges rule against Donald Trump in more than 700 different cases. And there are still hundreds, if not potentially thousands, of pending lawsuits against the administration for what the courts have determined are illegal orders. You know, those things that the White House has spent the last 2 weeks telling us they don't hand down. We don't hand out illegal orders. And yet, more than 700 times on actually just one issue, by the way, the courts have said, yeah, you did hand down illegal orders. And this all revolves around the recent change, this past summer, I guess, July 8th, change from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, that actually allows ICE to go in and do raids in schools and workplaces and churches, all of those places that effectively have been off limits for the agency for decades. And there have been so many challenges to that, literally thousands at this point, that 225 separate judges in 700 individual cases have ruled against the administration. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many more lawsuits still pending that these judges are now worried that because Trump keeps handing down more and more illegal orders, they're never going to be able to get through them. Let me read you this. This is from U.S. District Judge Christina Snyder in a ruling from November 21st. She wrote, quote, "The court is unable to remain current on all new case authorities supporting the court's conclusion given the continued onslaught of litigation being generated by the administration's widespread illegal detention practices." U.S. District Judge Lynn Windmill said on November 19th, quote, "Dozens of district courts across the nation, with more each day, have rejected DHS's expansion of mandatory detention. This court joins the overwhelming majority." So what this judge is doing is trying to say, listen, we can't even actually go through all of these. So because the case has basically been determined by these other district courts, same thing applies. So they're almost having to like rubber stamp these just to be able to get through them. And again, all of this is on one issue, the changing of the rules on where ICE can go in and detain people without warrants, without anything like that, and detain them indefinitely. So all of these things combined, along with the new places they're able to snatch them up, it's all illegal, the courts say. The situation is so...
I keep getting asked, particularly by white disabled people, what's going to happen under a Trump presidency? What's going to happen to pre-existing conditions under a Trump presidency? What's going to happen to disabled people? And I need you all to have a fucking reality check for a second, okay? White disabled people, you are the casualties of a war on indigenous and black people. Your situation is what it is because every single system in this country is designed to disable. It is quite literally designed to disable for the express reason of doing away with indigenous and black people. And so we design our system to eradicate disabled people as a whole, okay? And I need that to sink in with you all. Furthermore, you're asking that question in isolation. You need to ask that question with an abundance of other questions, such as why are Democrats in multiple states trying to redesign the institutionalization system? Why are disability services being sold out to private equity, costing disabled people their lives? Why are insurance companies using AI to deny claims? Why have we never fully funded home and community-based services? It's been almost 50 years. We are currently in a caregiving crisis. Our caregivers are not only not being paid what they need to be to survive, but our caregivers themselves are usually women of color who they themselves have disabilities. One of the marks of an oppressive government is its capacity to disable and then utilize that disablement to eradicate people. So what makes you think you're special? There is no incentive to keep disabled people alive and integrated into society other than to serve as an example of how badly this society can treat you. We've been fighting the same fights on disability for decades. Why do you think fundamentally things don't move as they need to move to save disabled people's lives? I've been lobbying. I've talked to people who have lobbied on behalf of disabled rights. What makes you think that the particular side you have chosen has any incentive to move the needle forward? When I was a baby, my mother was told to put me on lists for services in the hopes that I would get services by the time I graduated high school. And to this day, there are nearly 700,000 people waiting for services in their homes and in their communities. Joe Biden campaigned on keeping disabled people safe from COVID, and then left us for dead the moment it became opportune to do so. And then allowed private corporations to jack up the prices on treatments to keep you safe. Stop asking what's gonna happen with this president versus that president. You don't matter to American imperialism. What's not clicking? And judging by the way that a lot of liberals talk about disabled people, they want your vote gone too. Intelligence tests to vote, cognitive tests to vote. Where the fuck do you think that comes from? What's gonna happen to pre-existing conditions in healthcare? They plan on mass institutionalizing us, regardless of who's in office. That's what they've been building up to for years, because we're more profitable taken out of society than in it. And as much as you think privilege does not exist as a white disabled person, it very much so does in how Black and brown disabled people experience disability. And the things you fear have always been here. You need to have that.
Okay, I truly believe that the number one reason why white people avoid having the conversation about race that we have to have as a nation, if we're going to survive, is because it makes us feel uncomfortable. But on the other hand, Trump is making life pretty uncomfortable for all of us, and it's only going to get worse. So either way, we're going to have some discomfort, and we can do it God's way, and we can squarely face the darkest chapters of our nation's history and the darkness that lurks in plain sight right now in the present. Or we can continue to live in denial and run from the uncomfortable truths and the uncomfortable conversations. But you can't run from God, and you can't run from justice. Because until there is justice in this nation, there will be no peace. So we're continuing to spread the word about our documentary, because this is literally our heartbeat, to foster those uncomfortable conversations, because this is the only pathway to healing and to change into a better America where everyone can benefit from the prosperity of this beautiful land.
Welcome back, guys. Now, it's very sad to live in a country where all the blame is directed at the Black community. I'm not being divisive or divide the masses against each other over the color thing or race, but it's just what's happening. Let's try and be honest with each other. Sometimes we talk about these things and some people get offended, but I don't know why, but it's the truth. So Barack Obama was president 10 years ago. Yes, it's now 10 years since he exited from office, and we are here trying to understand why Donald Trump is still blames him and the Black community for the problems that the US is facing now. I mean, they have had 10 years since Obama got out of power. Is this not enough time for them to fix the problem that they are saying that Obama created? And I still understand that the same people blaming Obama are the same that have been president from 2016 to this day. What can they say they have done better? What have they done to change their narrative? You see, a loser is that somebody who finds excuses that about everything, and the best way to be unproductive or to be useless in life is always to have excuses for everything and every problem that comes your way, or even downfalls. Now, it wasn't the best time to remove Obamacare, not because it was not helping the people. It was because they were trying to kill the legacy. It's so bad that they are always obsessed with the fact that the black community should not have history in the White House, or when they write the history of America. It's so sad that someone has been on retirement for 10 years and still getting blames for the things that are happening today. Even you can learn that they are blaming Obama for the war that they are having with Iran at the moment. If you are very attentive enough, you might go and watch the clips that are made by the government officials and the president himself and all the people around him. You must always hear something about blames that are pointing at either the past administration, or the name must be dragged for one reason or the other. I'm not saying that black leaders are perfect. No, I'm not saying that. Yes, they have always had their own flops, just like anyone else, but it's so unfortunate that someone fails to deliver. He goes to wars and they fail to take responsibility, but they always have a way to figure it out by blaming someone else. And it's sad because there are people who still believe in these fake narratives. We still have people who believe that Obama was the problem they are having all along. Now, I'm not here to defend Obama or the black leadership, but I'm here to tell you that when you elect a leader that always finds a way to excuses, and first they are running on a high budget, trillions of dollars. The other day when he wanted to increase defense budget to $1 trillion. So ask yourselves, why will you have that kind of budget on defense when the people are not getting the best health care? The majority are going bankrupt. Let me tell you, these people are just about themselves. They doesn't care about the people, even doesn't care about their supporters. What will these citizens benefit from the war? What's the benefit of this war to the people? No benefits, but they feel the effect of the war directly, like the prices of essential goods and gas. And you find that taxpayers' money is the one that is being used to buy bombs to kill children and women. So sad. Thank you, and see you on the next episode. Please, if you are new here, subscribe to the channel, like, and also leave a comment. I'll be glad to hear from you.